Hello, I'm back again to talk about American domestic politics. So I'm going to bring up a couple things, obviously related to the modern day GOP, which I always have a lot to say about that. But what the Minnesota Republican Party just did was beyond outrage. They effectively invited Derek Chauvin to speak at their event. Derek Chauvin, who I want to remind people who Derek Chauvin is. Derek Chauvin is that police officer back in 2020 who kneeled his knee on the neck of George Floyd, who effectively killed the man, said nasty, horrible things about the man after he killed him, had complete disregard for this man's life. Now, I understand in that incident, the man he killed may have done some unsavory things. It may have had a background. It may have not lived the most honorable life. But at the end of the day, he's still a human being. And I don't know how police training goes in this country, but they obviously are not taught correctly to treat people like human beings. And we know racial biases exist in the police department. Okay. But that being said, he was rightfully charged by a jury and went to prison for murder. And it created a huge racial divide in this country, justifiably so. And that's when all the mass protests hit the streets and people were outraged. And, you know, of course, Congress discussed passing the George Floyd Act, which they never did. The Democrats didn't get it done. The Republicans voted all against it, of course. Because what's the Republican Party do best? Racialize every argument. Okay. We know about history and its treatment towards black people. That's just reality. You guys can deny and confiscate all you want. It doesn't erase reality. I know y'all want to ban books and erase reality. It doesn't erase reality. History is history. Okay. We already know that. The Republican Party decided to double down on that, though, by inviting a criminal to speak at their event. Who, by the way, of course, is only out of prison because Trump pardoned him, like all the other criminals who end up back in prison because they commit more crimes, because they shouldn't be on the streets at all. Okay. So, to add insult to injury of that, Trump's $1.8 billion budget is likely not going to pass. Hopefully, not anyway. Because it turns out he's taken bridges too far. Even the GOP's like, nah, we're not doing that. I hope they hold true to that promise. Because the idea that we, as taxpayers, should give reparations to criminals who attack the Capitol and attack law enforcement and have no regard for the law or respect, who are rightfully held accountable for their behavior, the idea that we should pay to give them reparations. Think about how moronic and ignorant and hateful that is. Okay? And a waste of taxpayer money, by the way. Because these are criminals who don't deserve money. Okay? They shouldn't be pardoned to begin with. Okay? Because the point of holding people accountable is to show the public, make an example of them and show the public that this behavior is not acceptable. Okay? Again, we all have our grievances about government. We all lose and win elections. We all don't like the outcome sometimes. But violence is never the answer. Okay? Denying evidence is never the answer. And sure the heck, raiding the people's house, the taxpayer house called the White House, is never the answer. Threatening the lives of lawmakers is never the answer. Attacking law enforcement is never the answer. Okay. What these people did, they sure the heck don't deserve a pardon, yet alone reparations. And I hope the Republican House will not, and the Senate will not bend to the will of Trump to pass such a ridiculous budget. Okay, this is ridiculous. But nobody in America, no politician across the aisle, Democrats and Republicans, ever want to talk of giving the African American community, the black community, reparations. Who are recipients? Who are the recipients of slavery? Who are the recipients of being third to second class citizens? Who are denied generational wealth? We don't want to ever talk about doing that. We don't want to ever give people that were actually oppressed reparations. But we want to give criminals who should be in jail right now still reparations. You can't be freaking serious right now. Okay. These people are revealing exactly who they are. And I just hope this November people wake up to that reality and they vote accordingly. And they hold these elected officials accountable for their behavior and continuing to fuel more hatred and more dismantlement of this system that they are continue to create and make worse for everybody. Then to make insult to injury worse, the inflation number just came out. So remember when I said inflation was, when Biden left office, was 2.4%. It was actually going down. Today, inflation, with Trump being in office just a little over a year and a half, is at 4.2%. So inflation has effectively doubled since Trump took office because of the world wars he started, terrible foreign policy decisions, the insane tariffs that are going nowhere, raising our prices, and of course his terrible domestic policies and choices. Okay. Blew a hole in our deficit of $39 trillion for nothing. We're not even being efficient with the budget. Okay. You know what Trump had to say when they approached him about the numbers? It's great. It's awesome. It's never been better. The economy's doing great. Inflation's wonderful. This is what I'm saying. I don't think he's all there anymore. I think he's losing it. He thinks inflation is wonderful and the economic numbers look great. Like, what planet are you guys operating on? Then he had the audacity to go on TV and say, I don't care about the suffering of the American people. Folks, this is your president. He doesn't care about your situation. He just said it out loud. He thinks inflation is wonderful for you. Congratulations. Another day in soap opera America in 2026. Anyways, y'all, have a great day. Have a great, wonderful night. Have a blessed life. Goodbye.